don't you paint me a picture of how you see this
Hey, I am here with Nanseera Wolf. Nanseera, have you caught on to my little running gag at the beginning of the podcast where I ask my guest to improv a little theme song for Chartless?
I have caught on to that theme. Yes.
Hey, what have you got for me?
Okay, here we go. Wow. Chartless, Chartless, Chartless with Melissa. Chartless, Chartless, Chartless with Melissa. Let's go.
Oh,
Boom.
immaculate. Immaculate. That's amazing. Thank you so much. We'll give you all the royalties if that takes off.
I was gonna say, please get me. Let's get it registered.
Yes. Yeah. 50% of zero is still zero, but it's the clout.
50% of clout is more clout than you had before.
This is true. This is
So
true. I'm really thrilled to reconnect with you. We haven't had a chance to chat in a while. You know that I am a huge fan of you and your music and your purpose and everything that you do. So when people ask you out and about in Nashville, when they're like, hey, what do you do? What kind of music? Like what is your typical kind of elevator pitch at this point? What do you usually tell people?
I always struggle with an elevator pitch, I have to tell you, because I do dabble in many genres. So that makes it like confusing. But I usually tell people that my music always lands somewhere between country and R&B. Somewhere on that spectrum is where it lands. If they want more details, I'll sometimes go into more details. Or sometimes if it's just a quick passing by, I'll just say I do Americana. Because I feel like Americana is one of those genres that's today is like whatever.
Yes, it's like indie, organic, folky, but yes, can absolutely pull in like roots and R&B type stuff for sure. Yeah.
Also, thank you for complimenting me.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
always here for that. Remind me of your global upbringing.
Yes.
Because you have a very interesting backstory that I can't keep straight. No, I know it's super global and crosses other continents, not just countries, but continents. So remind me.
Yes. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. People don't always ask, just usually because of my accent. So a little background on my parents. My mom is Ugandan. She's an artist, a visual artist, and an art historian. And my dad is American. He's from Maryland, and he is a behavioral scientist. But I was born in London, England, and then my family moved to Uganda, which is where my mom is from. And we lived in Uganda till I was 10 years old. Then at 10, we moved to Ethiopia. And then when I was 14, I moved to Boston. I went to a boarding school, which was my decision. And looking back, maybe not my wisest decision, but you live and learn. Then when I was like 15, 16, my family moved to Atlanta and I moved in with them. And then went to college in Miami, Florida, studied in Paris for a semester, went back to Florida, finished college, and then I've just been all around since, but mostly based in Nashville.
And this is the dumbest question,
Probably
but
not.
okay. It's very broad though, because I want to say, what was it like to live in Ethiopia at that time?
Obviously, it's a different economy, and I think that's what a lot of people understand with Africa is like you see a lot of it's like charity and help feed this poor African family. And it's like, yes, there are higher levels of poverty. It's a poorer country in general, but there is wealth diversity. And I would say that in my upbringing, because we were kind of living on an expatriate salary, I was definitely living in a sort of like upper class environment within Uganda and within Ethiopia, which that's a whole tangent I could go on. But yeah, I was living in a house in a city. So I was kind of a normal kid going to school, but then you get a lot of cross-cultural experiences. So I was home with my parents and getting both the American and the Ugandan. And then, like, for example, when I was living in Ethiopia, like, you know, you're out in the street, you're in Ethiopia and like seeing different cultural practices, eating different food. celebrating different holidays, all of that kind of stuff. So sort of learning how to navigate different cultural environments. And then also with being in international school, going over to friends' houses was also another cultural, difference that you're navigating. So like you're going to your friend's house who's from Denmark, and like that's going to be a certain way. And you go to your friend's house who's from Zimbabwe, and that's going to be a different way. So you sort of learn a little bit of shape shifting and how to navigate different people's cultural practices and expectations. And that doesn't happen like seamlessly, but I think it really enriched my upbringing and perspective on the world. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And then were you playing music at that time? Because you were there until you were what, like 15 or 16? Were you playing instruments? Were you singing, writing at that point?
Yes, I was. Actually, my friend introduced me to songwriting. She was like, I'm writing a song. I was like, you're doing what?
People could do that?
Yeah. At that point, I had already started playing the guitar. Wait, starting off, of course, with a recorder. Okay.
Yes. I love that you were not robbed of the American, yeah, it's not just an American tradition to force a recorder. Did you have to play hot cross buns?
Yes,
Recorder.
absolutely. Hot cross buns, bunch of other stuff. We had those little books and it was like, oh, here's your 3 notes and go for them. And it's like, oh, now you're getting crazy. We're adding other notes on top of the 3.
The B section of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, they add some notes. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes crazy. It's another level. Yeah, so I did that, and then my dad plays guitar, so we would go camping, and we would like have a campfire and play guitar. Very wholesome family scene. But yeah, I was interested in the guitar. My parents got me a guitar when I was about 6 years old, and I was sort of playing and learning. I had a teacher for a few months, and then she moved, and I kind of kept going with like the internet or what little parts of the internet I knew existed. And started writing songs with my friend. We would write songs at recess. And then we moved to Ethiopia. And I think that's where I started maybe not taking songwriting more seriously, but using songwriting as a kind of a cathartic release and as a way of processing the change and the grief and also the changes that were happening in my identity at that point, especially leaving a country that is mine in a way that I'm technically from and moving to a country that is not mine, and kind of feeling those strange feelings that you get when you leave home and then you return to home and you're like, there's some friction here. Like I'm somehow not fully from this place anymore.
Yes.
And I think even though a lot of people couldn't necessarily fully conceptualize my upbringing, I think that feeling, like people who've left home and then go back, like really understand that part of it. So yeah.
I would imagine that friction, that you've experienced a lot of that in your life, going back and forth and then moving and, sort of shape-shifting culturally. How does that show up for you now? Do you feel like, I'm just fluid, wherever I am is where I am? Or do you constantly feel a little bit of that bittersweet push and pull of like, who am I now and who am I? How do I relate to this space that I'm in?
It goes back and forth. I think it depends how much I'm wanting to belong in a space. I think when I have high expectations, sometimes when that friction comes in, it can get me down. But sometimes when I'm not necessarily putting expectation on it and I don't fit in, it's like, okay, whatever.
So this is so interesting because I have conversations. I mean, this will not shock you. I have conversations with artists all day, every day, as you know. And so often, and definitely a lot of times in Nashville, not exclusive to Nashville, of course, because shout out LA, you're tough on people too. LA. Yep. And not to exclude New York City, just because I'm from here doesn't mean I think it's easier, but it's different. But the specific one that I often hear is like, yeah, I walked into the room and I did not feel the vibe or like I was welcome or I wasn't the same enough.
Right.
There are spaces that are musically homogenous in some of these towns, and the artist then walks in. And instead of thinking, oh, thank goodness, I'm the only one here who's going to do what I do, so there's space for me, the artist thinks, I don't know if I belong here.
Yep.
And so my question to you as someone who's been in Nashville for a while now is, Is it true that if you get on stage and do something drastically different, that there are rooms that are going to be like, yo, you can't do that here? Like, we're acoustic singer songwriter. Don't bring your world music influence. Don't rap. Don't whatever. Is that true? Or is that just more of that inherent evolutionary feeling we have of if I get kicked out of the herd, I might die?
Right. Sometimes I will go into a room, suss out the vibe, and be like, what's going to go over well with this vibe? And because I have a little bit, especially with being in Nashville, because I do have a little bit of country in my rep, in my original rep, then like I can pull that out if I need to. Like I feel like I still do a bit of the shape shifting thing sometimes. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes I actually do the opposite, especially if I'm in a round. I'm going to be like, okay, there's 4, 5, 6 writers on this stage. I'm like, I'm going to do my stuff that like no one else for sure is going to do, or no one else for sure is going to sound like. That's where I feel like it's a strength as well, because at the end of those rounds or shows or whatever, people are like, will come up to me and be like, that song about this or that, nobody sounds like that right now. I'm like,
Right.
Thanks. Yeah. It's like, man, you do such stuff that's so different. I think something though that I have encountered is, especially with my genre fluidity, is like when I meet with industry people and sort of explain like, hey, like my sound incorporates a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of the other thing. And they're like, okay, so, if you really want to make this work, you're going to have to kind of like pick a lane and like make it work in your lane. And then later on you can expand. And I feel like, honestly, in the past maybe 6 or 7 months, I'm slowly coming to a realization of like, I've been trying to figure out which box feels best to me, but I don't want to be in a box. And I think that because of my background and because of the ways that I pull in different types of sound into my music, like I think I'm in a fortunate position where I can have a multi-genre, whatever career thing really work and have people understand that because I'm not just one thing, I can't make music that's just sounds like one thing.
Yeah. So
it's an idea still in progress.
We're going to fix it right here. We're going to fix it right here. So when you talk to industry people, you can just pretend that the word genre doesn't exist. Because the idea of a genre is really deader than dead. It's super dead. You needed to know what box to pick when industry people needed to pitch you to a radio station.
Right.
And the radio station was like, we play things that are in this box.
Right.
So what box are you checking?
Right.
And you can't be like, well, this singer doesn't believe in boxes.
Right.
Then they'd be like, well, then we can't get them on the radio. Right. Same thing with like a Grammy ballad. I totally want everyone listening to my podcast to go back and listen to the nominees that were in the non-televised categories, like roots, Americana, metal, progressive jazz. And you'll notice that some artists are in a couple of different categories because you can submit like wherever you fit the parameters, right?
Yeah.
So like there are instances where, hey, I need to come up with the right SEO tag for my website or for this or that. But it's a decision you make after the music is made.
Period.
Okay? It's the way you define it after it's made.
Yep.
So you don't create for that, right? You create for who you want to be and what you want to say. And I've prepped a lot of people for these industry conversations. So I've seen this work. I'm going to give you an example. I worked with a young woman who said something similar to me, like, I pull from jazz standards. I pull from country. I like alternative rock. I like it all. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, if you say that in the industry, you sound like somebody who does not know who you are.
Right.
And you sound like someone who's trying to tell the industry you're the only unique artist who's ever lived.
Right. You're like middle fingers up. Yeah.
And so people balk at that because every artist says that at first.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, amateur hour. Got it. You haven't clarified who you are. So you just don't have like the words yet.
Right.
She wound up really spending time figuring out, okay, what elements do I pull from the old school jazz standard world? What instrumentation do I tend to pull from alternative rock? And what do I really pull from country? Like,
right.
And can I refine that and get a little consistent with it? So there's a little bit of a through line with my
Yeah.
brand new recipe, right? So instead of saying I'm a little country, I'm a little bit rock and roll, I'm a little bit jet, she wound up being able to say, I forget who the exact people were, but it was like, imagine if Miranda Lambert wrote lyrics for Ella Fitzgerald to sing and the Foo Fighters were her band,
Love it.
right? And then you go, fascinating.
Right.
I need to hear, I can kind of picture it,
Yeah.
but I've never heard anything like it. And I really want to know more. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like, there's probably an audience for that. And listen, they're not going to jump in until you have an audience anyway. So if you're also saying, imagine if Miranda Lambert wrote for Ella Fitzgerald and the Foo Fighters played, but also I've got 1,000 paying members of my Patreon. I can pack a room in my hometown.
Yeah.
No one's going to lecture you on genre if you can back it up
Right.
like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. For real. And I feel like I'm kind of in that process now.
When are you playing out? Are you doing a lot of shows like in Nashville? Are you traveling? What are you up to kind of this year?
Yeah. I'm traveling. I'm gearing up for an East Coast tour in March.
Are you coming to New York?
I am coming to New York.
Writing it down. When? Do you know?
New York on March 25th. It's a Wednesday, but you can do it. It's a late show on Wednesday. Yeah, pull up, y'all. Here in New York. I'm super excited to be playing at the Mercury Lounge.
Oh my goodness. Love
Yeah.
the Mercury Lounge.
Me too, me too. It's one of my favorite venues. So I'm super excited to play. And I have a couple friends who are opening, and yeah, then it'll be me. So psyched.
Talk to me about new music. You have new music coming.
Yes, I do. I have new music coming out. I have a single called Dance Like You. It's coming out early March, and I'm super excited. It's
What genre is it?
what genre is it? It's Americana, okay? Oh, this one is actually pretty solidly an Americana track. It started out being inspired by the overturning of Roe v. Wade and all of the women that I knew who were working still so hard to do more research on women's health and advocacy for women's health work. And I was so inspired by that resilience in the face of this huge legislation being pulled back. And then when I actually sat down to write the song, I feel like so many more elements came through of just like general, like the government not supporting the people in the way that it should. Yay! It's not really a sad song. It's not really a protest song, but it's more of a celebration of like, hey, things are crazy and we're still finding joy. We're still singing. We're still dancing. We're still, pushing through and keeping going and supporting each other. And I think to me, especially right now in the world, like that's an amazing, thing to be mindful of, especially when there's a lot of doomsday info that gets shoved into our eyeballs.
Do you feel a responsibility to write about what's going on in the world, or is it simply like, hey, this is often what's pouring out of me, or do you feel like an accountability factor?
That's a great question. Sometimes I feel an accountability factor, but when I feel an accountability factor, the songs don't come out right.
Yeah.
But the things that kind of light me up to write about what's going on in the world are anger and joy. And I feel like finding the places where those two things sort of come together. And we often think of joy as this like uniquely positive feeling and anger as this like uniquely negative feeling. And that isn't how I see it. And I see joy as being all the more meaningful in times when really bad things are going on. And I see anger as really meaningful for where we want things to change, where we feel like something's wrong, where we want something to improve.
When something is not right, anger can be like an early indicator of, hey, we should do something about
Absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think so often, I mean, even when we're kids, you get angry, you have these tantrums, you get really upset. And that so often is put down by the, our societies and the people around us of like, hey, you need to chill.
Yeah.
But I think that really if we get a little more curious about like, okay, there is anger here. Where is it coming from? What needs to change, right? Like we can demonize the anger and be like, oh, you need to be more compassionate and calm in the face of bad things. And to me, I'm like, no, like, let's just accept the anger. Okay, I feel angry. Good. What's underneath that? Someone was extremely disrespectful to somebody else, or somebody chose to be violent towards somebody else in a situation that should not have happened, or this administration is like causing this violent thing among its people or among other people that are not in its nation. And it's like, yeah, that is wrong. I think that that's a good thing that we don't feel good about that.
I love what you're saying, because you're saying, okay, don't bypass it, but also don't just take it at face value, like dig in. There's like rich, important stuff about you inside of that. And I think that sometimes for writers, that is what we do. It's like we feel the intense feelings, and writing is how we dig in.
Yes.
To figure it out.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And that so resonates with me.
I actually had this like very intense moment of joy earlier this week. And it kind of brought me to my knees. So it's interesting that you're talking about like anger and joy, and people see it as like uniquely positive. First of all, have you ever heard the term joy fear?
I haven't, but I can understand exactly what you're saying. Go say more.
The second I feel unadulterated joy, I am sort of struck with terror.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right? That like the feeling won't last, or it's all a lie, or it's going to be taken away from me, or whatever. So I am aware of that within myself. But this was a unique feeling that I had this week, where I felt so just like fulfilled as a person.
Yeah.
In my work and in my life and in my home. And, I had like health stuff last year, and I'm healthy, knock on wood. And I just felt ecstatic.
Yeah.
And I thought, who can I tell?
Yes.
No, I wanted to write a blog post and do a podcast and put it on Facebook and put it on TikTok. And I'm like, what?
I'm happy, people.
I wanted to share it, not perform it. But it was, I had this pure instinct to like, what do I do with this feeling? It was overwhelming to me. And then I was like, oh, well, Melissa, when was the last time you wrote a song?
Heyo. Did you write one?
No, but I realized that it's coming. I realized that it's like, oh,
yes,
like you are forgetting where you come from, my darling. And you are not using these tools, and these feelings are coming up.
Yeah.
I have this habit now, because every time I have an intense feeling or thought, I think that's a class for my masterminds. That's a podcast conversation. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, but some things are they're really meant to be turned into art.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's so powerful that like inner guidance came to you like through that moment of joy. And it was totally that compass that brought you back to like, hey, it's me, your artistic voice over here. I'm ready. It's like, let's go. I think that's so powerful. I can't wait for the song.
So your new song, wait, what's it called again?
Dance Like You.
Dance Like You. It's coming out early March?
Early March. Yeah. If you have, well, we can edit this out, but if you have an opinion about a weekday release versus a Friday release, let a girl know.
What are your thoughts on it?
I feel like, and maybe this is just like in my music business classes, it was always like Friday's the day because industry stuff is happening on Friday. But then I feel like I graduated school and suddenly everyone was like, my song's coming out on a Tuesday. And I was like, great. I don't know. I think I feel a little lost on that one. And I mean, ultimately what matters most is like how I tell people about it, like letting people know in advance that it's coming out. Duh. But in terms of the actual day, I don't necessarily, why do I feel attached to the Friday? Maybe just because I was taught that way, but
yeah, we're going to leave this in and then we're going to see what you decided to do. I'm going to tell you the truth, which is it doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter. And also telling people that it's coming out doesn't matter nearly as much as how often you talk about it and invite people to participate in it with you for the next 4 weeks after it comes out.
Period. Thank you. Yep.
So and
Yeah.
listen, like, the best practices have in fact changed. I used to teach like a 2 week pre-launch, pre-release rollout, and the Friday release, it was like, yeah, if you want to get on a specific type of playlist, that's often a thing. But
Yeah.
honestly, like, the industry's not paying attention. The industry's like paying attention to they're each paying attention to their top 2 to 5 artists that are already signed.
They're paying attention to their AI investment.
Oh,
Sorry. To go there for a second. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
yeah, well, the industry's not paying attention. So what's been happening now is just your general indie music listener cannot keep track of when your music is coming out. Is it next week? Is it tomorrow? Is it whatever? Like, and I know this to be true because my feed is pretty much artists I've worked with, right? And now, granted, I've worked with thousands of artists, but
Yeah.
I'm not seeing all of them every day. But what I'm telling you is every pre-release announcement I see matters to me. It matters to me personally, and I still don't remember. And it's to the point where I kind of don't even care, like
Right.
when it's out,
Let me know.
let me know. But also, I am not able to click through your link tree the second it comes out
Yeah.
either. So if the artists that I not only love with all my heart and soul, but also my livelihood relies upon it, if they need to remind me regularly
Yeah.
before I can take action and actually sit with their music, then your general, music fan definitely needs a lot of reminders and creative reminders, and not just on social media, but like through email, through texting, through whatever VIP area you've created.
Yeah, so true. And I also love what you said about like finding a way for people to participate and like join in and be part of that. I've been thinking so much about that lately and just thinking about world building.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just reflecting and sort of brainstorming on like, hey, how can I invite you into this more?
Yeah. People always reach out to me and they're like, how do I get my music out there? How do I promote it? And I'm like, no, you don't take a thing and push it.
Yeah.
You interact with people and invite them.
Yes.
That's what you do. And I think we're getting back to that more and more, which I really love. But I think artists are also seeing that you can build sustainability into your career one person at a time. You really
sure.
don't need millions and millions of streams and followers and all of that. Like the reason, oh God, we're gonna get super marketing. Like, we're gonna be marketing bros for a second. But have you heard of like the fan funnel?
Yes, I have.
It's a numbers game if you're playing the fan funnel game.
Yeah.
So the top of your funnel maybe has 100,000 people in it. If you're lucky, 10% of those people will go one level deeper into your world.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're lucky, 10,000 of your people will actually like see your posts, hopefully, and maybe interact with them. And then if you're lucky, like 10% of those people, which would be 1,000 people, might actually like share your posts or listen to your music on Spotify and become a little bit less passive, a little bit more of a fan. And if you're lucky, 10% of those people, so now we're down to 100 people, will like join an email list.
Right.
And 10% of those people would come to a show. So from 100,000 cold traffic, it's called 100,000 strangers, you are lucky if 10 people will come to a show.
Right.
And what I have been subtly screaming into the void is, why don't you just work on creating 10 fans at a time directly?
Yep. Love it.
Artists are spending like $3,000 to $10,000 a month with marketing companies to try and build their TikTok so they can build a funnel. Meanwhile, I have other artists who are just like DMing people and, like getting 10 new super fans a month. By the end of the year, you've got 120 super fans who will do anything for you.
In building that way, the way that you're describing, like, you know much better how to nurture your fans and like who they are, what they care about, how you can, provide something that will, make their day, hopefully, right? I feel like I was in a chase mode for a while, and now I'm like in the process of switching to like nurture mode. It's about people, it's about caring about people. And that to me is more important than the algorithm. And so I'm like, I'm valuing engagement over total views and being up in the comments and being like, wow, thanks for, pulling up to my account. Thanks for saving this. Oh, also, like, I'm going on a tour soon. Like, I would love to see you there. Like, where are you based? Or, that kind of thing. Like,
Yes.
all that stuff.
Yeah, you seem good. You seem like you're ready to do an intentional, vibey rollout.
Yes, I feel that way, and I feel I feel a lot better than I have in the past couple of years doing this, like post music school. There was like a rough transition out of that for me, like mentally. And I think now I'm just feeling more and more solid and like, okay, these are my values. This is why I make music. And also, this is why I share my music with other people because those are not always the same. um,
That's a really good point. It doesn't
yeah.
have to be the same. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just honestly like I'm feeling super ready to give music more of my consistent attention and sharing my music more of my consistent attention because I feel like when I was in that post music school, like what just happened, freaking out and in that sort of chase mode of like, oh, I need to be like this person or do like this, or I need to do what this one industry person told me at coffee. Oh no, I need to do what this other industry person told me at coffee. And like just getting so lost in the like everyone's shoulds, um, and I feel like now, okay, I understand what it is that I'm trying to say, and I feel like I'm finally ready to like, okay, let's do this for real. Let's do this for real instead of like doing it and then freaking out and running away for 3 weeks, and then doing it some more and then freaking out and running away for 3 weeks. It's like,
Mm.
okay, a little a day, a little bit every day, even if it's not everything that I wanted to do. Let's just get a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Where are we trying to go? Working backwards from that. Like all of that kind of stuff that I wasn't necessarily doing before, if I'm being super honest.
So I work with a lot of college students who are getting ready to graduate with degrees either in music business or music or, something like that. And a lot of students say, like, hey, no shade to my program, but kind of mess with my head on the way out of it. What would you want to say to students who are kind of getting ready to go through that?
I would say taking a bit of time, whatever that looks like for you, away from your home environment, away from your school environment. It can look like all kinds of things, but just to be alone, sit with like how I'm feeling, what are my fears, getting your fears out on paper, looking at the fears or whatever we can call them beliefs that you have and identifying which of these are true and which of these are false, right? Like my belief is, oh no, I shouldn't have gone to college at all because now my mindset is all messed up and I've lost 3 years of building my career in the real world. Okay. Like, is your career going to fail because of that fear? Absolutely not. That is a lie. We can look at that belief and say, myth, myth in the brain, right?
Right.
So looking at that and being like, okay, and then we have a counter thought, being like, my musical abilities were super enriched by my time in school. It is true that I've come out with some maybe art scars or mental wounding throughout this process. And my inner artist is still alive and is still alive and well. My inner artist can recover from all kinds of different challenges, just like the challenge that I just went through. And going through that recovery process for me is going to look different than my peers. It's going to look different than maybe I even expected, but I'm going to find my way back to my artist voice. I trust that my artist voice is still inside of me, and
Mhm.
that voice will make itself known to me if I give it the space and the nurturing and the love that it needs. That's what I would say.
I have never heard the term art scar.
Ooh,
I really love this. So, can you share a little bit about like what that was for you?
oh, my art scars. Where should we begin? I think I did have the fear that I mentioned. I did have that fear that the mental or artistic blockages that I was experiencing in school had, in fact, hindered my career instead of helping it and questioning my decision to go to school. I also struggle with like not knowing enough or the narrative that I still don't know enough. I don't know if that comes from school or from some other place, but feeling like there's always this barrier of knowledge that I'm not quite at yet. And it, because it's a mental fallacy, the bar of knowledge keeps moving. Like it doesn't matter how much I learn, I still don't know enough. I have art scars around my melody writing. I have art scars around my like piano playing and sometimes my guitar playing, depending on what genre it is. So
Was
I think
this due to like feedback or things that you went through in classes? Do you feel like there was, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have done it, but like was something in that environment difficult for you, having like structured education around making art?
some of the art scars definitely come from that environment, but I will say I think actually more of that wounding is previous traumas that were first of all not addressed and then I was put into this high pressure environment where my cathartic release was then having to be evaluated and done on a deadline and all
Yeah.
stuff supported. I also want to be very clear. I was super supported in my music school environment, which I don't think always happens to
Yeah.
people, and that can also be a huge scar as like then your professor's voice is in your head, right?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
For me it was more of like my inner voice and sometimes not even trusting the positive feedback that I was getting, which is also very twisted like mind process. So
This is a more nuanced thing that you're bringing up, which is that it is so vulnerable to enter into a space where you are getting feedback,
mhm.
right? Guidance, feedback, teaching, deadlines, assignments. Like that environment is meant to be kind of neutral. It's meant to be kind of neutral and stoic, like, and you'll hear advice like, well, feedback helps you grow, and constructive criticism is meant to make you better. And it's like, but like we are all raw nerves.
Right.
And even just you asking your inner artist to show up it's so incongruent with the way that an artist really experiences music and creativity. Like you said, it's like it's your cathartic process of like
Yes.
managing the world. And then they're like, let's put it in this academic container where everything's neutral and everything's objective, it can give your nervous system real whiplash.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that you're so right. It's definitely not for everybody. And I will also say, I feel that by the time I was maybe like my junior year of college, I almost created this maybe like alter ego of my creative voice that could show up and be like, okay, guys, like this is due on Tuesday and it's got to get done. And these are the parameters and, get it done. Like now I'm like, okay, that's a skill I have. I can put my creative voice in her little armor and we can go and meet the deadline. Great. Now I know I can do that. Right.
That's a craft.
Right.
That's
exactly.
not catharsis, that's craft. And there is so much more room to grow now. You're doing the thing, you're doing the curriculum. College doesn't promise you that it's going to be an artist development incubator. College promises you that you'll learn skills.
So true. So I think the skills thing is a good mindset just for kids who are either they're choosing to do music school or coming through music school. Like if you think of it that way and hopefully can take some of the pressure off of yourself, that's where school is tough because they put the pressure on you and you're like, and then you gotta find a way to balance that. Do a healthy pressure balance.
Yeah. And you are answering to one singular institution inside of an academic ecosystem.
Mhm.
It is not the end all be all of the music industry.
Yep.
And your audience does not care if you went to college or where you went to college or your GPA or what you took or even how good of a player you are, right? Like when you release your single,
Yes.
next month, you are not also going to be attaching your resume to that single to try and entice people to listen to it.
Right.
That would be a poor strategy.
That would be a poor strategy. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that was another part of coming out of school for me was like, hmm, am I trying to make music that impresses my professors? Maybe, or let's focus on making music for the people who are actually coming to see our show and the people who are telling us that they like our music. Like you seeing that also is valuable. And I think that is sometimes within academia, it's like, oh, it's got to be more sophisticated and you've got to use these changes. It's like, that's a great thing to learn. Learn that, girl. Learn those changes, learn those things. That's awesome. But ultimately, someone at your show does not care about the changes. She doesn't care. She cares how you made her feel. She cares if you like the sound of the music. She cared if she felt like you were engaging with her or if you were just like looking down at the ground and didn't really want to be there, you know?
Yes. I love this so much. I love this so much. So, Nanseera, where can my listeners get to know you and connect with you since you're pulling them in to your world?
Yes, come into my world. My world is available for you on all social media except for Twitter or whatever it's X, whatever it's called now. I've got stuff for you on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever floats your boat. I've got stuff for you on all streaming platforms and on Bandcamp. So you can go check out my recorded music that I've already put out there and you can see what genre you want to call it if you want to get all up into genres. Or you can just enjoy it and share it with your friends. And yeah, you can also join my mailing list on my website, nanseeramusic.com. And you can DM me and say hi.
You are amazing. I am very excited to see you in New York City and to put your new single on the Mastermind playlist and talk about it a ton in Chartless. But thank you so much for doing this with me today. It's really been awesome.
Thank you for inviting me. I was so excited. I feel like you're such a nice person to be able to talk about artistry and musicianship with and all of the different layers that come with that. I feel like you very much keep it positive, but stay grounded. And there's different ways that we can go about this. And there's different parts of our lives and our journeys and our voices that impact us. And so thank you for making these spaces for us to just be real about it.
My pleasure. Well, like you said, we're not bypassing anything. We're digging.
Let's dig in.
We're digging in.
And I think it's cool because the more we do dig in, the more of an accurate picture we can get of each other. And I feel like more globally speaking in the kind of world that we're trying to make and that we're working and crying and dancing for, like that's what we're trying to do, right? Is just to see each other better and to be there for each other. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you again for listening to Chartless. My name is Melissa Mulligan. I am a vocal coach and artist development expert here in the recording industry, and I also run my favorite passion project of all, which is a music career roadmapping coaching collective called Music Career Mastermind. Please reach out if you want to connect directly. You can find me at mastermindroad.com. Mastermind, ROAD, like a roadmap.com. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.
Ooh, I'm ashamed to say I walked away.